Enho is Sumo's most interesting rikishi. At only 214 pounds and 5 feet 6 inches tall, Enho is much smaller than the 330 pound average weight of a sumo wrestler. How does Enho win with such a size disadvantage when weight is such a priority for most other wrestlers? There is no reason looking at Enho next to someone the size of Tochinoshin or Goeido and think that Enho has a chance against anyone in sumo. But that's not exactly the case. Enho has reached Maegashira 4. While he is far from a Yokozuna, the top rank in sumo, Enho has shown the ability to compete and, most importantly, entertain fans. How does Enho do it with such a size disadvantage? The answer lies at the heart of grappling: technique. The average Joe can be faster, stronger, and longer than a martial artist. But with the proper amount of technique and training, the smaller, weaker perceived person can do things with his adversaries they would never expect. Enho epitomizes that statement in current sumo. If you already haven't yet, please like and subscribe the video, drop a comment, tell me what you thought, and open one of these in a new tab. As mentioned earlier, technique is the foundation of every superior martial artist with very few exceptions. Enho lives up to that mantra by being the smallest guy on the dohyo at any given time. But what he lacks in size, Enho makes up for in technique, speed, and finesse. In the first example, we take a look at Enho and the legendary Hakuho. The two faced off in a one-day basho that was really no consequence and just for fun. The match was very entertaining and, like I said, was quite fun. It had no impact on the rankings, and this was a thing purely for entertainment. First thing I want to look at is the large size disparity between Hakuho and Enho. It's mind-blowing, and Hakuho isn't even that big of a rikishi when you compare him to the aforementioned Tochinoshin. Even more so, Enho gets the win. How did he do it though? As you can see in the frame here, Hakuho knows how to keep Enho from getting inside, and he knows that he has to. Hakuho extending his arm is a double-edged sword, however. While Hakuho is keeping space between he and Enho, he is leaving his arm extended, which is the beginning of the end for the great Hakuho. After a couple of fakes, Enho slaps Hakuho's hand away and goes for the belt. Hakuho pushes Enho back, leaving his arm extended. Enho was originally reaching for the belt with his left hand. When it was thwarted, Enho grabs the extended arm of Hakuho and does an arm drag, pulling Hakuho to him instead of going to Hakuho. With the left arm of Hakuho controlled, Enho is free to grab the back of the belt of Hakuho, setting up the finish. Now with a grip on the belt, Enho grabs the leg of Hakuho, preparing to take the balance from his adversary. When Hakuho picks his leg up on the spin, Enho pushes right above the knee and slides his knee under Hakuho's leg. Now Hakuho is posted on one leg, and Enho takes the grip on the back of the belt and pulls him forward, winning the match and tumbling Hakuho to the ground. Another thing Enho does well is adjusting on the fly. When his initial attack doesn't go his way, he can't muscle himself into a position he wants to be in. He is the smaller man after all. He has to change as he goes. Against Takayasu in January 2020, Enho gets smothered. Takayasu does a good job of not letting Enho get leverage to throw him initially. In the initial exchange, Enho gets a hold of Takayasu's arm, properly grabbing the inside of the elbow and rendering any threat from that angle and hand null and void. Even if Takayasu grabbed the belt, he has no leverage to do so, and Enho is out of any kind of danger there. Enho goes for a hip toss, and Takayasu keeps his hips back and doesn't allow the throw. Now Enho is in a bad situation and is off balance. Takayasu keeps the whizzer, which controlled Enho, perhaps preventing the toss. Instead of hanging around and being off balance, Enho circles out to his right and creates space instead of being smothered by Takayasu even more. Here is where Enho makes his adjustment. He is being smothered by Takayasu. His arms are not long enough to get the original grip he wanted. So, here, Enho takes his right hand from the hip of Takayasu and brings it to the front of the belt. Enho was sort of a post for Takayasu with his right hand. Now it's gone. All Takayasu needs is a little push. Enho sets it up to be this way and moves his left hand where his right hand now is to the back of the belt. Now look which way gravity is pulling Takayasu. Leaning over, his center of gravity is now pulling him down, and he is not at all stable. Now with the new grip and Takayasu off balance, all Enho has to do is remove the post, in this case the right leg of Takayasu, and guide him towards that side. Enho does just that, sliding his left leg and pulling forward on the back of the belt. Down goes Takayasu. Another example of the craftiness, and perhaps even more so his speed, of Enho was against Tokushoryu in March of 2019. Enho slips his right foot and it almost spells disaster. With Enho off balance on the edge of the dohyo, all Tokushoryu has to do is push him out. If you watch closely, this is a bang bang play. Tokushoryu knows Enho is out of position. He reaches to push and overextends himself, putting his center of gravity in front of him, much like Takayasu from earlier. Enho, being as swift he is, launches for what appears to be a double leg takedown and eventually turns into the single leg. With Tokushoryu's momentum coming forward and his weight pulling him down, all Enho has to do is lift the leg and let physics do the rest, which he does. Enho's disadvantage, his size, also plays to his advantage. He knows his limitations, and there are very few rikishi that he can simply muscle. Another thing he takes advantage of is his low center of gravity. No example is better than Abi from earlier in 2020 of the Hatsubasho. From the jump, Enho does a good job and gets off the line quick. I sound like I'm talking about American football here. He doesn't let Abi get a good grip, and initially he has the advantage, but not for long. Abi extends his arms as not to let Enho get inside, and with his right hand pushes Enho's head. This is essentially a feint to which Enho bites. Abi then pushes the shoulder with his left hand, which he can be seen better in the next clip, and the shove pushes Enho back out of position. It is right here where Enho and his speed play a big part. He dips his head, avoiding another shove, this time potentially a match-losing shove, and steps slightly to his left. Abi is already moving forward and foolishly follows to the left, but he pivots on his right foot, leaving it exposed. Enho picks it up on the fly. The finishing sequence is dazzling as Enho picks up on the much larger Abi and sets him down. What really goes down is interesting in itself. It appears Abi is at battle with Enho's grip and the threat of almost stepping out due to the overzealous pursuit. He seemingly feels as if he cannot slip out of bounds and lose by stepping out, so he hops off his left leg. Enho is already lifting on the leg, and now his center of gravity is much lower than Abi's, and he can drive out the bigger rikishi with relative ease. Nonetheless, it is a spectacular finish and made waves on the social medias. We have talked about Enho's speed multiple times in today's breakdown of rikishi skills. It is possibly his best tool. Enho has speed advantage that no other wrestler really has. The next example is of Enho and his speed is a look at his lateral movement and how he uses the combination to not only win matches, but to stay out of trouble. This particular clip comes from November 2019's Basho. He took on Koto Shogiku and escaped danger more than once. He managed to push to the edge of the dohyo and Koto Shogiku goes for the win. Enho circles to his left and grabs his arm to throw him out. but it does not work this time. He gets tied up with Koto Shogiku and fails at a hip toss, one of his go-to techniques. After the failed hip toss, Enho is out of position and Koto Shogiku senses it. Like we've pointed out before with Enho's opponents, he is leaning over his center of gravity and is pulling him down. All Koto Shogiku has to do is give him a little push and the day is his. Enho's speed gives him the ability to get where he can use the momentum of Koto Shogiku against him. Koto Shogiku storms forward and extends his arms. Enho's agility is on full display. He had his left foot forward originally, but hops back and now his right foot is forward with Koto Shogiku marching towards where he was. For the second time in this match, Enho goes for an arm drag, this time successfully. Koto Shogiku is simply moving too fast to stop himself, and Enho uses the slight arm drag to win the match. Enho may not be the most successful sumo wrestler, but he uses his skills in a unique way that is incredibly entertaining for fans of the sport. And it's this technical ability that has gained the rikishi so much popularity with the spectators. It's the classic David and Goliath story where the smaller man wins the day. Enho may or may not win a basho, but he certainly intends to. But even if he doesn't, he will be forever immortalized in sumo history books as one of the all-time greatest fan favorites. Be sure to like and subscribe like I mentioned earlier to get more videos weekly on sumo, Olympic wrestling, boxing, and MMA. Thanks for watching.